All right.
I'm caffeinated, so I'm better.
All right. So
I'm
when
sorry, it's starting to remind me of my class. All the cameras are off.
Yeah.
when Becky sent out her email, I think was it yesterday? She
Yeah.
gave some attachments. You might want to take a look at those attachments. There's
I'll do my
one.
best to put them in the chat right now too.
Thank you, because I tried, but for some reason I was not successful. But we have a Mega Blight's GIS Overtrap lesson plan, and we have a presentation plan. And later on after lunch, if you want to learn how to make the map that we're going to use on the presentation that we're going to do here, then you would get the third one, which is got a lot more detail on it, and that's like a 5-pager. But I'm giving you a map, and if you want to learn how to make that map after lunch, I can teach you how to make that map. But that's one of those choose your own adventure ones where you can either go with Mike or Josh or me, and you can decide what you want to do. But I'm going to give you a completed map. Um, I really wish um, I could pause time and then redo some of the lesson plan to include information on our presentations this morning, because they were all about locations and where you chose to put your traps. And I think Corey's PowerPoint with all the charts and the graphs from 2019 and 2020 and showing the graphs from those traps from teachers versus UTK participants and cemeteries, parks, and houses and schools. That stuff that if you're looking in in the um, in the required background, I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. I hope I don't mess it up. But do you see my Word document? All right, good. So that would be stuff that I would pop into here with required background, or that you would be familiar more with, the PowerPoint, teachers versus UTK, different places that UTK versus teachers would have placed things like cemeteries, parks, and houses versus schools. I definitely think the background would be adjusted to put in treatment of the egg papers. I think that is something that would be in there that you guys should be aware of that. Um, and I like the idea of maybe adjusting our expectations next time for our third year with plastic crates and trying to keep papers moist, and the variables that were created by you with CODAP, land cover, um, field, grass, trees, near water, that sort of thing. So that's stuff that could be included in your lesson plan. And I'm just doing this because I know later on there's going to be a discussion on a GIS lesson plan. And I just kind of put this together with the format that we provided last summer as an allegory for you to show you that this is how I would do it. And turn it in. But basically, the objective with this map is this web map is to evaluate the locations of your overtraps between the 2 years. I want to make sure that everybody today can open a web map and turn on and off layers. That you can use a search bar. You can add a bookmark, and if you need to or want to, you can change a base map. So even in this presentation, I'm not going to ask you to do high-level GIS stuff. And as far as primary task goes, this is where you could, when you do your GIS lesson plan, you could just plug and chug, kind of like the handout I have provided for you with overtrap location presentations, which is less than 2 pages. You could just insert that with primary task, or you could even put see attached lesson plan, that sort of thing, kind of like I have. But basically at the end of this, I'm going to want people to break into small groups and discuss did your locations change, and did changing the locations from one year to the next provide for better coverage, and just in small groups? And then what advice do you have for future people on where they should put their overtrap cups, in the future? So basically at the end, your assessment is, can you save a copy of the map that I give you? Can you bookmark your school? And then can you share that with me in a Google form? I do realize that you're gonna, some of us have already been knocked off our Wi-Fi's and have had to be re-emitted. So those are some limitations, and making sure that you remember either your megabytes credentials or your school credentials. Those are some potential limitations and issues to anticipate. And I think that's was addressed in Becky's email earlier, with making sure you guys remember how to log in. So I am gonna swap what I'm doing and go to the present. I'm gonna go to the map that I have already, and I'm gonna ask you guys to go ahead and go to the map. And if you have your directions open with you, I'm just gonna go through that with you right now. So if you've opened up the link in number 1, you'll see in the top right hand corner there's a modify map button. And if you could click on modify map, which is search for your school, and I'll just search for my school. And I see that it's popped up, and it will zoom into my school. And then I want to bookmark it. So I'll create a bookmark and add a bookmark for Jefferson Middle School. And I would like you to do the same for your school.
All right. Is everybody on and doing similar as Brian? Or are we following?
Stop sharing a little bit so I can see. Did you guys, were you able to open up that map? Were you able to?
Mine is taking a long time to load. If you could just give us a second for it to load.
Sure. I'll wait a minute. But just I don't know if you've used ArcGIS Online in the classroom, if you've ever used a web map, but giving the kids a link, I don't know if you do that through Canvas or if you have another learning management system like Google Classrooms, that sort of thing. But Paula, you're having a different laptop. You're using a different laptop, and you have the 2020 map open. Did you use the link that I have for number 1? Well, please do.
Can you drop the link again in the chat just so
Sure.
a little easier? I'm going to try to.
So I put that link into the chat. Paula, can you access that link from the chat?
The email. Okay. I'll send it to you, Paula.
Okay. All right. All right. So can I get a thumbs up from everybody? Let me know if they've set a bookmark for their school. Get some physical thumbs up. I'm getting a few digital thumbs up. All right. Very good. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. So I'm gonna just zoom back out myself a little bit. Click that home button. That'll give me the full view. But if I click that home button, I can always go back to bookmark and hit Jefferson Middle School if I've saved that, and I can hit the home button to get the whole view. But here's a good reminder. We've got an About button over here, and it gives us a little bit of information there about the map. And if I click on Contents, I can see the layers. And if I click on Legend, it'll give me the buffers and the survey points. So what we need to do is be able to make sure that we can turn on and off layers as we want to. So I'm going to ask people to click on and off layers a little bit as they zoom into their school and play with turning on and off layers for a minute.
Brian, when I tried to search for megabytes, I couldn't get anything to pull up in the add layers. Nothing.
I don't want you to add layers right now.
Okay.
I want you to just use the completed map. If you want to learn how to make this map after lunch, then I can do that with you. And that's a different set of directions. Right now, it's just this activity is using a web map that's already been made. Being able to use the search bar, being able to bookmark, being able to turn on and off layers. And I've kind of been buying some time for people that are having trouble with opening up the web link. But I want to go back to the set of directions. If you clicked on modify map and you search for your school, and once you found it and created a bookmark, number 4 is save your map using a title, tags, and a summary. And if you look at the directions, if you click on save, make sure you it's going to prompt you for your login. It does not matter if you use your personal account, if it doesn't matter if you use your school account, doesn't matter if you use the megabytes account. Just go ahead and log in, give it a title, tags, and just a 1-sentence summary. And what you've done, when you've done that, you've created your own map. It'll be in your library, it'll be in your content, and it'll focus in on your school. Follow the directions were sent in the email with the invite. And yeah, I did not put in directions on bookmarking because I demonstrated it, but I will demonstrate it again. If you, let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. If you have searched for your school and you have found it, you click on the button that says bookmark, and you just add a bookmark and name it for your school. Some of you might not like the base map that I'm using. And if you want, you can change your base map using the base map. I know that students really enjoy imagery. you might choose that, or if you don't want the imagery, you can just choose whatever you want. It's up to you. It's your choice.
All right, I'm still not understanding how to save it because I can't find anything that says save. It gives me an idea of where to look.
Did you click on the modify map button in the top right hand corner?
No, that's what I was looking for. I didn't know where to go from here. There it is.
Okay. Yeah. If you got to start with, and once you'd open it up, number 2 was to click on modify map.
I don't have the modify map. It says new map. So am I already in it?
If it does not say modify map, then you're fine.
Okay.
You probably see the save button. And that's, some of us are, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. I wish I had a second screen here, but, that's the thing. If you've already clicked on modify map, it'll say new map, but if you haven't clicked on modify map, it'll say modify map in the top right hand corner.
And then so we just go over to the save button. And do you want us to save it as our last name, or are we supposed to save it a certain way?
It's up to you. I would probably, after you sign in, instead of calling it a copy, I would probably, since you have saved it as a bookmark, I would maybe put your name or your school, but, compare 2019-2020 overtrap locations for JMS, because I just went ahead and saved it to put a bookmark for my school. So you can either put your name or your school. That's up to you. And the only thing else I want you to do is share your map with me. I actually was asked after I did these directions to you can email that to me, or what I'm going to ask you to do is, instead of emailing it to me, is I'm going to drop another link into the chat. Make sure I get it to everyone. To that Google form. And that Google form, all it is your name and the link. And that way I can get everybody's map for their school. And that way you don't have to open up your email account and send it to me. In fact, it should look like, I'm going to share the screen out here. It'll just look like that. Provide your name.
Let me get wet to see you.
And then the link. And that would be it. And that way you can share it to me.
There's a little share feature button on the it has the little like chain, I guess would be the way to describe it. That's an easy way to share.
Yeah, so if you're, after you save, there's a share button right here. Right next to save, it'll say share. And then you would make sure you have everyone clicked, because some of you might be using your school account, some might be using the Megabytes account. So make sure you have everyone, and then just copy that and pop it in.
And just to point out underneath, you could learn how to build it into a website later on, or put it into a web app, depending upon how you all want to use these maps, your base layer maps.
Yeah, so if you wanted to embed it in your own website, if you make your own websites, then you can just copy that right there. But that's you know, or you could share it with Facebook and Twitter if, you know, you're making, I don't know if your school has a Twitter account, or if you have a Twitter account, and, you know, but we're not going to even get into creating a web map. But for those that are familiar with posting to social media and have their own website, then those are your links. But the link I need is one for everybody. But the goal for this activity, for me anyway, is if you go to your school, is to select your different layers, especially from 2009 and 2020, and check the buffering range for each of those years and determine if there was a difference in where you placed it. And, you know, I'm going to go back here to the, let me see, I got to find my file. All right. I'm going to copy these questions and put them into the chat. What I want you to do is to evaluate the positions and spend some time, maybe a couple of minutes, going over the locations of yours between the 2 years. Think about, did they change? The fact that we have different symbols should help you. And did the change of overtrap locations provide for better coverage? And then you can select and deselect the layers as you need to. And then what advice do you have for the next cohorts, or if you want to continue with the program, what would you do for the third year? So I'm going to ask, I don't know how to put you into breakout rooms, but I'm thinking maybe 5 minutes in a breakout room. Maybe, I don't know how many people we have here, maybe 4 or 5 people in a breakout room. Kind of go over those questions and see how, you know, what you come up with, what thoughts you have. You know, and it's a good time to remind yourself of Corey's PowerPoint and of Josh's CODAP presentation. Oh, there's a lot of issues there. Other than, you know, with location, there's other variables that are involved with your location. So, and what do you guys think? You ready for breakout? Let's give it a shot.
Hey, Breakout Team 1.
Hello.
Happy Saturday.
Yes.
So
Good to-
Michael,
Good to see you all.
you're not going to be surprised at this, but I'm still trying to get into with my password that I've neglected to bring with me.
So
And so I know it's megabytes 114, and then from there I can't find my notes.
So one, this is Saturday. You all have worked all week. I have worked all week. There's nothing we're going to do today that anyone is going to get stressed out about, period. So if at any point this stuff is not working and it's not clicking,
Okay.
take a step back, take a big deep breath. You know, we recognize that this isn't a great fit for every single teacher for every single application. So don't panic about any of that stuff.
Okay.
Now, in terms of specific things, I would love to help you out with specific things. So to start with, one of the things you mentioned then, Julie, is the username.
Yeah.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you go in your web browser to the tga.maps.arcgis.com website, I think when you go there and try to log in, there's a way to request a password reset. I think it's set up to your email, I think.
Hey, Michael, Julie, if you want to use our Creso login, you can use that. Whatever would help you long term to get back in.
Yeah, well, just Christy, I'd want to coattail you, so hand over the Creso credentials.
Okay, I'll text you the details.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Michael.
I have the opposite problem. I have 3 accounts. I was like, which one do I save it to?
Yeah. We've got teachers on the whole GIS spectrum, right?
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's saving the gladiators for. All right, that's where I got to remember that it's there now, not in the megabytes. Does it matter? Do I need to save it in the megabytes or?
No, really, ideally, you're going to want to put it in your school's account primarily, in my thinking, because that way you have the best access to it and it's easier for you to share that with your students, because it can also be in your school's account. Because no offense, I'm not going to add all your students to the TGA account. So yeah, keeping it within your school is probably the best way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, I've got my map up. I can't really there's not enough layers on it to tell, I can compare my 2 locations. I have one location that's the exact same spot. Some are close and then some are completely different, but I need to be able to see which locations had the most data, the most eggs, I guess, between 2019 and 2020. But also I know we didn't have I don't think we had any adults in 19, right?
I think you're right. So, but I can help you with the first part. All right. So, Nicole, do you mind to do a screen share?
Now I've forgotten how to use Zoom. I can do Teams so well. Okay.
Check the bottom of the Zoom window.
I got it.
Okay.
So is it sharing?
Perfect. Looks great. Oh, okay. And your web browser looks like my web browser.
Oh yeah, I only have like 900 tabs open at every moment.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to recommend. So if you decide that you want to look at the number of the number of eggs, let's say, since you have eggs from 2019 and 2020. So let's do this. If we click on the name of the 2019 layer in the contents pane over on the left, it's just click on the name of it and it's going to kind of activate it. And then you'll see a bunch of buttons that show up. You want the one that looks like the geometric shapes, the triangle, square, and circle. And that's your change style.
Okay.
And basically what we're going to do is we're going to change the style so that it visually represents how many eggs you've got. So you've got a 1 and a 2. Well, let's go scroll up just a little bit.
Okay.
And what we have to do is we have to tell it, we saw that big spreadsheet that Joshua was showing earlier in CodeApp. That's the exact same data that's in here. So we have to tell it which column of data do you want to use. So we're going to click that drop down and we're just going to go with total eggs. And I think it's in alphabetical order, so it's probably near the bottom. Oh,
total eggs isn't in here.
Okay, that's a good thing to know. Okay, so I'm gonna have you cancel for a second.
Okay.
All right, so
stop sharing.
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
How do I do that? Oh, there it is.
This is just location data, Michael?
Yeah, apparently this is just the location data. So I'm gonna make a note to Brian real quick.
Okay.
So I know you all won't be surprised to hear this, but I'm also kind of panicking with all the things going on. And so, I didn't get all this data cleaned up until the end of this week. So Brian didn't have a chance to look at the data that had the locations and the CodeApp data added to it. So that's probably why he's using this. So I'm going to make a note to Brian and we'll use a different data layer for that.
Yeah. I think that's probably what everybody wants to see is, what's the difference between 19 and 20? Possibly, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and we'll look at that in my next session. We'll do a little bit of exploring on that. Because then the other thing that I'm learning, and it just breaks my heart to say this out loud, but a lot of you just don't get excited about this GIS stuff the same way I do. And so I have to think a little more strategically about the best way to work with educators to make sure that we're getting the data to you in the right format, so that it's easy for you to implement in your classroom, because you've got so many other things going on. So hopefully some of the resources I'm going to show you in the next session will make some of this easier for you. And then you all can make decisions on, well, do I need to build my own maps like this, or can some of these other resources work? And then the other thing, just so that everybody knows, is that if there's ever a point where you're like, you know, Michael, actually, I really do want my own map for my own school, but I can't do this because, you know, I only look at this twice a year, once for the annual workshop and once for the GIS. And like, drop me an email. We'll set up a time for one of these virtual things, and I'll work with you to get it set up.
Oh, that would be great. I use the Geoinquiries all the time. Like actually, this week we're going to do the wind and ocean currents Geoinquiry. But I love the Google Docs now. That is so much easier than trying to use the ones that already have the answers in them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are a really good resource. And then,
especially for the younger kids, you know, for my age group.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you noticed, but they do those level 2 ones now.
Mm-hmm.
So if the students get logged in, then they can actually like do some creation of things and not just exploring what other people have made, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I like that. I'd like to do it more, but like you said, I just don't do it enough to be proficient at it.
So I tell you what, let me just do, why don't I just do a screen share with you all?
Okay.
And then, because I have that data set up, and that way we can take a look at everybody's school. And we'll look at some of those different resources. So I've got everybody's points just in here as black dots for right now. And this is your 2020 data. And so I'm going to click on the layer name to expand all my options. And right now, if I click the legend, everything's just a black dot. And I can open up the table, and we can see that it has the same 576 rows that the CODAP data has. And it's got all the same columns. So everything's in here the way it's supposed to be. So that part is good. All right. And then if we want to change the style, like Nicole's interested in, we can click that change style button. And then here's where we're going to pick the column name. And, oh Lord. Okay, total eggs. Let's go with that. All right, and it scans that column and it goes, hey, Nicole, I'm looking at that column and those look like numbers. If you're mapping numbers, here's what I think you should use. And it's color, and it's changing the size of the symbol based off of the magnitude of the data value. So this is technically called a proportional symbol map. So the size of the symbol is proportional to the data value. It's basically what's happening.
Do we have to get rid of that negative 999?
No, I fixed that.
Yay!
And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fix the 2019 data so you don't have to either. So basically what I did was I changed, boy, now y'all are like getting me really excited. So in the database, I changed it so it can have what are called null values. So basically you can have an empty cell now, and it couldn't do that before. So I'll
That's why you chose your background for Knoll Island, because you were so proud of that update?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that right away.
So you don't have to do that. But what we can do, we can still use that same filtering. And I'm going to show you what I think is a more efficient option for this later. But we can come down here to educator and let's find Mondo. All right, and we can apply. All right, so now we got just yours. All right, and then let's zoom in some more. Oh, hold on, I missed one. Okay.
Yeah, there's one way down there.
Cool, all right. And now,
can we color code it for year?
So right now, this
Only
is just the 2020 data.
Got it. Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yep, forgot that.
And Christy, what I'm gonna do, and Corey and I are gonna have to fess up to a few things to the whole group, so I'm not gonna have to apologize twice, so you're just gonna wait and get the apology. But there's some things that we're gonna change about the way we're recording some of this data, and that way it'll be more consistent across each year, and it'll make it easier to do the comparisons. But Corey and I need to have a sit down and come to whoever talk about how we're going to do that together.
Data entry format is the consumptive piece of data collection. I mean, it's how should we record this data so that it makes it easier in the future?
If I could get people to quit using Excel as a database, then 99% of these problems would disappear, but we haven't done that yet. But we're going to get there.
Yeah, you have to work in the learning curve problem.
Yeah. Well, usually what happens is you make enough mistakes and you're like, there's got to be a better way. And you're like, oh, there is. Okay, so let's color code this time though as well. Okay, so well, let's see. The other thing you might be interested in is we've narrowed it down by teacher, but we can also add another expression and we can say which calendar week it is. And so we'll just say right now it's week 35. So we can see we've got a few that are a little bit bigger. Some other cool things I think you could look at with this is instead of just looking at the size of the symbol, kind of like what Joshua was showing with CODAP where we can compare two variables at once. So we could say something like, well, let's compare total eggs to elevation. And it scans it and it says, okay, so I'm going to, the color of the symbol is going to represent total eggs, and then the elevation is going to be represented by the size. And so, you know, you can start, I'm going to use the term making hypotheses really loosely here, but like, you know, you could ask questions like, well, if I put these, will traps at higher elevation have, you know, fewer eggs in them because it's cooler or something like that? And then we can actually start to look at those comparisons between the size of the symbol and the color. Now it looks like everything where you're at is about the same same elevation.
Well, there's the one that's really low down at the bottom. You can barely see the circle, but it's at a lower elevation than the one up right there by the school. Yeah, it's harder to see these colors.
Yep. But so, you know, we could look at that. Or if you didn't want to look at elevation, you know, we can come down and we can look at that land cover option.
Mm-hmm. Or adjacent to water, or right. You can do any of those, right?
Yep. And so this way you're visually looking. So instead of looking at the graph, you're actually looking at it spatially, which can be another pretty cool thing, I think. So I tell you what, I'm going to hit cancel. And Julie, let's look at.
We're leaving.
Okay. Well, do you want to look at Julie's real quick?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to change educator from Resmondo to McCullough. My filter. And let me zoom back out. Okay. And so it looks like same thing. We've got started. We're looking at total eggs to start with. And then again, if we wanted to do something like compare it with elevation, we can do that. So these two, look at that.
Interesting, Julie. Check it out.
Yeah, what is going on? The elevation of those is higher, and you got tons more eggs there, but that's just for week 35. So does that trend follow over time? And anyway.
They turned in their product and I'm saying, how did you do that? I just did it. I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm already being passed by somebody and he just barely started.
Hey, Brian, in my breakout room 1, we had some questions about, besides just looking at trap locations, they're really excited to look at the overtrap result data. And I need to get you the updated version of that. So we might be able to change these layers so they can have overtrap, or we make a new map that's got the overtrap data and the location data. But I've got some folks that are pretty excited about that too.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So do you have that layer built?
Yeah, but Corey and I have to fix a few things.
Okay. Well, then maybe we could have that by the April meeting. Does that sound good? Okay. All right. Very good. So really, I wanted just people to look at layers, the buffered areas and their locations. I know that the people in my group, they definitely changed their locations between the 2 years. Although that there are still, you can only do so much within your school grounds, uh, if you have lots of parking lots rather than growth, that's going to limit where you put things. But does anybody have any big picture thoughts or any things from their breakout rooms that they think the whole group would benefit for knowing? Especially, what advice would you give people in next year's cohort on how to put their traps out?
Maximize distance between traps.
Very good. How about somebody in Becky's group? Can you tell us something that not Becky, but somebody that was in the group? Tell us something that they could tell people for next year on locations. Nope, nobody
No.
from Becky's group.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, I'll talk for them.
Okay.
They had great ideas. So we were clicking around probably a little too much, getting a little click happy. But we looked at how much acreage or how many square kilometers were looked at. And then we kind of were noticing that I think Paula said that her students trapped exactly in the same location for two traps or one trap, which was pretty neat. So we have repeated data at one site. And then another idea was that if we have, our school, we're kind of basing the questions based upon a yes, no type of response. We could lay out the traps all across the school. And then instead of having replications by the question, it'd be replications by week to try to figure out if mosquitoes are evenly distributed on the school property. And that way they could have a little bit more space. But yeah, it was kind of fun. Everybody had something a little different. We had little struggles too, but yeah.
Very good. So did we only have 2 groups or did we have 3? We had 3. All right. So third room, I guess, would have Josh been in that room or Michael? Okay. So somebody from Michael's room, if you could give us some advice on what to tell next year's crew.
I think, a lot of the stuff's already been repeated. Maximize your distance, consider whether, your access, is this something that if you did for a couple years in a row, you would want to keep it in the exact same location? Just pretty much the same stuff that everybody else said.
I'm going to ask, thank you very much. I'm going to ask Corey to talk a little bit about one thing that he reminded our group of, that Dave did a good job of, and that is tree holes. Corey, can you mention just what you talked about with tree holes?
Yeah, when we were talking about trap placements, I was saying that my goal was to kind of maximize mosquito collection. That was my only intention, was to get as many as I could. I also wanted to get the tree hole mosquito though. And so when I was going to a site and scanning around, I was looking specifically for tree holes that were holding water, and that I just kind of darted in that direction. And you can tell the difference in some of mine just kind of anecdotally. I know traps that I had laid right below a tree hole, and I got a lot of tree hole mosquitoes out of that one. So that's among the things that you could look at if you want to find the tree hole mosquito. Maybe you want to find the tiger mosquito. I don't know what you're interested in.
All right.
And let's get something from Nicole had a comment too.
I also noticed that both years when I put my trap in the same place, it was right underneath a crepe myrtle. And I don't know if it was like a food source or something, but I got both years a lot of mosquitoes from that one trap. So having some kind of plant nearby, I think helped.
Excellent.
Oh, one other thing I want to mention is also look at elevation when you're doing yours. If you're trying to keep them on the same elevation, or if you're going to bounce them everywhere, that would be something to look at too.
And just as, I mean, I haven't looked at everybody's map, but just looking at the Google form, I got 13 different maps, and I want to thank everybody because that tells me you can open a map, you can save a map, you can share a map, and that makes me very happy. I'll take a look at those and see if they're public, and to see if you bookmarked your school. But as far as my lesson plan goes for this session, that's your assessment. That's your, you know, that's what I'm gonna grade you on, you know. So, but you have been able to do 3 of the 5 things I've wanted you to do with this map. You know, open, save, and share. So I'll check for the other 2 things later, but I'm pretty pleased at those results. You know, so I don't know if you look at the list, if you don't see your name on that list, that means as of about 5 minutes ago, I did not receive, um, um, you didn't enter that into the Google form. So, but thank you. I appreciate everybody's efforts on that. If you want to learn how to make that map from scratch, I can show you after lunch, but that's your decision.
Yeah. So the idea that Brian just did was, so he shared the lesson plan with expectations and background, you know, what we need, and then created the how to do it with the students, us, right? We were the students. Some questions happened, and so basically he did a mock thing which you guys could do with your students, asking any of the questions, or kind of going in the same route you want to as Brian did, or a different route if you want.
And the only thing about that lesson plan for this activity, that I guess I could have put for myself in potential limitations or issues, is that I never considered the issues of people working on different platforms, people working off different internet browsers, you know, and some people are using computers they don't normally use right now. Whereas in a classroom setting, you might be in a lab, or everybody might have the same kind of Chromebook, you know. So those are issues that kind of are school specific, you know. Whereas this, we've got 14 different people with 14 different kinds of computers and platforms to worry about. So, but that's something to consider as far as that last portion of the lesson plan.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any questions for Brian?